Animated movies are supposed to be comforting and fun, but every now and then they hit you with the scene that has you questioning your entire life. Here are 8 times animated movies got too real, starting with Kung Fu Panda.
But it could never hurt more than it did every day of my life just being me.
Ouch, right in the feels. From the moment Po becomes the Dragon Warrior, everyone thinks it's some big mistake. And who can blame them when he's round, clumsy, and has the grace of an elephant trying to walk across a tightrope? What sucks is that Po himself spends most of the film trying to live the dream, but really, he knows he doesn't belong there either. Underneath all the jokes is a guy who hates being himself. Through some twist of fate, though, he found someone who actually believes in him.
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift.
Although Master Oogway seemed a bit too quirky sometimes, he could always see Po's potential. He knew that Po needed to understand he didn't need to change completely to be worthy of the Dragon Warrior status. All he needs to do is trust who he is and what he's capable of. And this is a lesson Po accidentally learns from his dad.
To make something special, you just have to believe it's special.
Mr. Ping basically drops one of the most important life lessons in the franchise while talking about noodle soup. His words help Po realize that the Dragon Scroll was about finally believing he was enough for himself. This, sadly, is a lesson Tai Lung would never be able to learn, since he spent his whole life seeking external validation from Shifu. He thought he needed to become the Dragon Warrior for his master to finally be proud of him. But when Shifu did nothing to defend Tai Lung after Oogway rejected him, everything fell apart.
What I ever did, I did to make you proud! Tell me how proud you are, Shifu! Tell me! Tell me!
He tied his entire identity to becoming the Dragon Warrior because that was the dream Shifu unintentionally raised him to chase. So when that dream was taken away, he was left with nothing. Naturally, Tai Lung broke under the weight of Shifu's expectations, but he's not the only one who loses it.
Do you know how hard it is to stay positive all the time when all you folks do is complain, complain, complain?
Joy's Crash Out and Inside Out 2 feels all too real. Being the only positive emotion in a room full of negativity would drive anyone crazy. But Joy's breakdown also happens because Riley is entering a version of herself that even her own emotions don't fully understand. The mood swings start as soon as she hits puberty, and it throws everyone for a loop. On top of that, Riley finds out Bree and Grace are going to a different high school, which immediately triggers her fear of being left behind. It's during this new phase of her life that new emotions arrive, with anxiety immediately clocking in like she owns the place.
Bree and Grace's team win, and we look stupid. Number 22, Val passes to us, and we miss it.
Anxiety shows up, claiming she just wants to prepare Riley for every possible disaster. But anyone with anxiety knows that preparation can lead to hours of overthinking about the future and only making things worse. Anxiety, unfortunately, mistakes control for safety, putting too much pressure on Riley to be perfect.
I'm not good enough. You have to score, Riley, or this will all have been for nothing. Anxiety.
This is the moment everyone realizes anxiety's methods to help Riley grow just do more harm than good. Riley is surrounded by people, playing the sport she loves, but inside her head, everything is falling apart. She's afraid to mess up and wants everything to be perfect, but nothing is going her way. That's a feeling most of us can relate to. Riley, therefore, experiences an identity crisis and a temporary loss of self in the film. On the other hand, How to Train Your Dragon 2 deals with a more tangible form of loss.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
In this film, Stoic reunites with Valka after years of believing she was dead. Who knew the gruff Viking chief was such a softie? For years, Stoic had to raise Hiccup alone while leading Berk through war and survival. Meanwhile, Valka stayed away because she couldn't support Berk's hatred of dragons. At some point, she even convinced herself that her family was better off without her.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
Although that doesn't excuse her absence, there's no denying that the whole family suffered greatly over the years. So seeing them all finally together after more than a decade is truly heartwarming. It's too bad Drago Bloodfist seems allergic to anything beautiful, though.
Son! Dad! No!
This moment has so many painful layers to it. Stoic dies saving Hiccup, which already gives him a lifetime supply of guilt. And Valka's side of the scene is equally brutal. That kind of regret must be unbearable. The worst part, though, is that Toothless is the one who kills Stoic while under the Bewilderbeast's control. Although Hiccup knows Toothless was hypnotized, he still lashes out at him for what he did, which just hurts the both of them. Hiccup's grief overwhelms him, but the family isn't the only one that loses someone special to them.
A warrior, a chieftain, a father, a friend.
Gabra's speech especially hurts because it reminds us that Stoic wasn't just a father and a husband. He was Gabra's closest friend, Burke's protector, and the person everyone looked to when things went wrong. Now, that leader is gone, leaving Hiccup to step into his place while his grief is still fresh. It's a testament to the fact that life doesn't wait for you to be ready before handing you responsibility you never thought you could bear. So Stoic's death forever changes everyone in Burke. Just like Ellie's death permanently changes Carl in Up. This scene would easily make a grown man cry. It's happening to me right now. Carl and Ellie met as two kids dreaming about adventure. They grew up, got married, and built a lovely home together. Sadly, though, Carl lost Ellie before they could ever go on their adventure to Paradise Falls together. So Carl isn't just devastated because he lost his wife and best friend. He's also dealing with the guilt of believing he failed her. But what Carl doesn't realize is that Ellie never saw their life as unfinished. To Ellie, the real adventure was spending her life with Carl, not going to Paradise Falls. Carl spent so long thinking he disappointed her, only to realize that he had already given her the life she wanted most. And once he understands that, he finally starts moving forward. And that's where Russell comes along. At first, Carl only thinks of the little boy as a nuisance, but by the end of the film, Russell becomes proof that Carl still has room in his life for new people.
I would like to award you the highest honor I can bestow. The Ellie Badge.
Man, I never thought the friendship between an old man and a kid would have me sobbing. And speaking of, hit that subscribe button unless you want to see me cry my eyes out even more. But yes, back to the scene. This is the same badge Ellie gave Carl the day they first met. So for him to give it to Russell is a huge moment because it shows he's no longer fixated on his grief, choosing instead to let Russell into his life. But Up isn't the only Pixar film that talks about fixations.
I'm just afraid that if I died today, that my life would have amounted to nothing.
That's deep.
Joe Gardner's fear of wasting his whole life and soul hits way too close to home. For years, Joe has built his entire identity around music like it's the only thing that matters. In his mind, once he plays with famous jazz musician Dorothea Williams, the stars will align and his life will officially begin. Which is ironic, because the day Joe finally gets what he wants, he falls into a manhole and dies. Talk about anticlimactic. But after a series of spiritual side quests, Joe makes it back to Earth and finally performs alongside Dorothea. In the moment, everything feels incredible. Once the music stops, though, he gets an unpleasant reality check.
So, what happens next?
We come back tomorrow night and do it all again.
This moment feels too real because many of us treat our dreams like finish lines that will finally make us feel complete. All along, Joe believed his spark had to become his purpose, and because of that, he pushed the same toxic idea onto 22.
That's why you ruin everything, because you have no purpose.
Ouch, this feels like a personal attack. 22's lost soul is basically a physical manifestation of a self-doubt spiral. And let's be honest, we've all been there. In the end, Joe finally realizes that your life doesn't need one grand achievement to justify its existence. For 22, meaning comes from the smallest moments, like walking, eating pizza, and just feeling the wind. These are the kind of ordinary things most people ignore because they're too busy waiting for their real life to start. Soul, therefore, is a reminder that while it's nice to have goals and dreams, it's also important to appreciate what already makes life worth living. However, this isn't the only film that makes us question our existence.
Who am I? I could be anyone.
This right here is the entire premise of the film Rango. Even before he leaves the terrarium, Rango has no real idea who he is. He spends his days performing different versions of himself for a plastic fish, a headless doll, and a toy palm tree. Although he seems a bit crazy at times, his theatrics are basically hiding the loneliness within. This feeling grows when the terrarium breaks, suddenly throwing Rango into a whole new world where nobody knows him. But true to his chameleon nature, he adapts the second he reaches dirt.
You might say I'm what hell was already raised up. Name's...
Rango creates a whole new persona on the spot to impress the people of Dirt. He somehow convinces everyone that he's this fearless gunslinger with a mysterious past, and the universe even backs up his lies. That's pretty human of Rango, really, because most of us are also guilty of changing parts of ourselves so that someone would like us more. Unfortunately, Rattlesnake Jake shows up and reveals the truth. After that, Rango's identity crisis gets even worse because he no longer knows who he is without the role he created. That is, until he meets the spirit of the West.
No man can walk out on his own story.
The spirit reminds Rango that he needs to take responsibility for the story he's actually living and not just play a role. He could run away and stay as a nobody, or he could go back and become the kind of person he only pretended to be. Thankfully, Rango chooses the latter. He returns to Dirt because the people there need him. So in a way, Rango's fake identity becomes real only after he stops using it to impress others. However, he's not the only animal on this list seeking validation.
What's your dream? To go, away.
In Surf's Up, Cody's dream of escaping Shiverpool makes total sense. His life there is painfully dull, and everyone around him treats surfing like it's some ridiculous phase he needs to grow out of. Instead, they expect him to sort fish like everyone else.
That's rough, buddy.
So yeah, no wonder Cody feels lonely and wants to run away.
Hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
That's all Cody really wants, the space to love surfing without anyone judging him. And that hits home, because a lot of people know what it feels like to be treated like your dream is embarrassing just because other people can't understand it. Sadly, all this rejection changes the way Cody sees surfing. Rather than doing it because he genuinely enjoys the sport, he makes surfing all about winning to prove his worth to everyone. And that's always dangerous, because if your whole reason for doing something is to win, then even one loss can completely shatter you. That's exactly what happens to Big Z, Cody's surfer idol. His loss during a contest destroys him so badly that he fakes his own death. Which, to be fair, sounds a bit extreme, but it shows just how dangerous it is to crave perfection all the time. It's because of the embarrassment from losing that Big Z refuses to come to Cody's contest and reveal himself, and Cody is devastated, to say the least.
This is when I needed someone. I needed him. You know, it's hard enough losing one dad, but...
That line makes you realize Cody's more than just a fan disappointed in his idol. Big Z became the closest thing Cody had to a father figure, so he wanted his validation on two fronts. But what Big Z was trying to teach Cody all along is that surfing should be the thing that makes him feel alive, not something he ties his worth to. Throughout Surf's Up, Cody struggles with the concept of losing the contest. On the other hand, Puss in Boots struggles with the concept of losing so much more in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I am Puss in Boots! I laugh at death!
Tomorrow.
Well, he's clearly not laughing now. From the moment Death appears as a bounty hunter in the film, Puss feels fear in a way that he never has before. The same cat who prides himself on being untouchable gets cut and bleeds for the first time. That tiny scratch terrifies him because he's already on his last life. The feline hero doesn't know this wolf is literally death yet, but he still runs away and fakes his own death. But Puss can only stay away from adventure for so long. When he hears about the wishing star, he sees a chance to get his old lives back and become the fearless legend once again. Every time death appears, though, the fear and anxiety come back, paralyzing Puss until he finally reaches his breaking point.
Puss, what's wrong?
This scene is one of the most real moments in the entire film. Death straight up pushes Puss into a full panic attack. For a character who's always been the epitome of bravado, seeing him completely overwhelmed feels terrifying. Puss finally regrets pretending he was invincible and wasting away his past lives. Luckily for him, Perito gets Puss out of his spiral. The little guy finally gets his wish of being a therapy dog, and this isn't the only time he guides Puss when he's troubled.
You know, I've only ever had one life, but sharing it with you and Kitty has made it pretty special.
That one simple line completely changes how Puss sees his last life. When he faces death again, he's still scared, but now he values his life enough to fight for it. And that's precisely why death finally backs off. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is one of those films that really makes you think about your mortality, making it one of the most real animated movies ever.